Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome to Songs of Conquest, a strategy for X game developed by Lava Potion and published by Coffee Stain Publishing. I managed to get my hands on a press copy to show off for you here on the channel. I may even do a series on it. It's a very good game, challenging but very good. Forewarning, this game has literally, as of the time of recording, only just come out into early access, so there will be bugs, there will be glitches, and as I said, like balancing and various things like that haven't been set in stone yet. So do not take what you're seeing here as the final sort of state of the game, because things could change. So let's first check out the options. A nice gameplay options, nice range of languages, and a nice array of options that you can toggle on and off, which is always pleasant to see. Video-wise, yeah, for a game like this, for a 4X game like this, you've got not too much, but at the same, not too little. So you've got stuff like VSync, Bloom, depth of field. Having a nice range of actual resolutions is nice because you don't always get that in games nowadays. And having the ability to change the graphic quality of the graphic and the terrain quality independently of each other is always very nice. Sound-wise, straightforward, music, sound effects, and master volume. Chat sound effects, which isn't really important. I don't tend to play a lot of games like this in multiplayer. But having a master volume as well as individual scaling is always very nice. Sometimes you just get the master volume, or you just get one or the other, and it's nice to have both. Controls, if I would say something, I would say it would be nice to have basically a breakdown of what all the buttons do in the game. Not that there's very many, but there are some, and it's nice just to have a way that you can just look at it and say, okay, Alt, like left Alt does this, rather than having to go through the codex and the rulebook to basically find how the controls work. Map editing seems fine. I haven't done a lot of the map creation tool usage in this game, because I've been playing through one of the campaigns. So, and then down here you have tutorials. The tutorial and codex. It's nice to actually see this in a game where there's a place you can just straight up easily access, and it has a breakdown of exactly what it does. And this is what you get in the tutorial part of the game. This is pretty much the exact breakdown of the tutorial section of the game. So what you see here is what you get in the tutorial. So if you're ever missing something, you can always go straight back and you can find it here. And it has all the breakdown of battle basics and all that kind of thing. You have the different wielders, which are basically the heroes for the faction. So far, I've met some of them in the campaign, not all of them. And this is the one thing I will warn you. If you're playing the single-player campaign, predominantly you'll just get one character as the one that goes throughout the main story. For example, in the campaign I'm playing, which is basically Arion here, you're predominantly just playing as Cecilia Stoutheart, and the other characters will basically pop in and out of the story on the maps as basically the plot demands. Which is a bit of a saying, so I'd like to see some of them for longer. Some of them are very interesting. But yes, you have some of the factions like the Barony of Loth, Brea, and Rana. These are the 4 factions. I don't know if they're going to add more factions into the campaign, into the game itself, I should say. I wish they do. It'd be really nice to see some different unit types. Maybe some like a undead faction. I said I haven't really played a lot of the campaign, but so far it'd be nice to have maybe a faction completely controlled by the undead, or something like very exotic, because so far the only non-human main facts in the game are the Rana, which are basically frog and lizard folk. But so far I've been very impressed with the factions so far. Units. Most of the units will have basically a base unit and basically an upgraded variant. For example, with the militia, you have the militia and they evolve into sappers. And you have their stats here. As you can see, there's not a ton of units. but it is early access, so we may get a lot more added on. But so far, all the units feel very different and they work very differently, which is very nice. Have the different skills. There are a lot of skills, and they have multiple stages that you go through. It is very unlikely that you will get access to. Well, I pretty much saw it's pretty much impossible to get access to every skill in one playthrough of one character. But you can customize characters to have different roles on the different maps you're playing on. Artifacts, which are items that you find out in the world, and they all have different effects, which is very nice. You get different types as well for offhand, hands. There's a lot of equipment which is equipable in this game. It's a very good. If I was going to say one thing, I would say this game heavily reminds me of the Age of Wonders franchise. Just because you have that level of character customization and the sort of the army building that goes into it. It's a very classic. This game's a very classic 4X game in many ways, but it really reminds me of Age of Wonders. One thing I will say is that your hero characters are never on the battlefield. So unlike games where, like say for example, Age of Wonders 3, where your hero is like leading your troops from the front and using all their special abilities and buffs, that doesn't happen here. Your hero in this game, which are called Wielders, tend to be purely sort of command units where they cast spells and command tactically through you, or you command through them, but they never take part on the battlefield. And you have different spells here. You see them broken up into different types, and that is to do with the mana system in the game, which I'll get into in more detail. But that's the codex. A nice little thing, something that's actually relatively easy accessible, so if you have any issues in the campaign, you just flip it open and it explains exactly what's going on. Let's dive into the single player campaign. Let's go with a new campaign, and let's go with... There are 2 campaigns so far here. I hope they're going to add more campaigns, and they also have a custom campaign which basically allows you to make campaigns as a player and basically submit them to the community, and basically you can basically play them here. I do hope that more campaigns get added. I'd love to play the other factions if they get campaigns. Since it's called the Songs of Conquest, it'd be nice I suspect there's probably going to be more songs coming out. But you have 2 basically campaigns so far. You've got the Song of Stout Heart and From the Ashes. We're going to look at the Song of Stout Heart. It is what I consider to be the more sort of introduction campaign to the game. From what I've seen of From the Ashes, the From the Ashes expects you to have a bit more understanding of how the game systems work. You can play it from basically from off the bat without any experience, but I think you'd find it a lot more challenging than if you played basically Song of Stoutheart first. So, Cecilia Stoutheart, the young Baroness of the Baronet from the Barony of Stoutheart, must face enemies within and without to hold onto her power and protect her people. Stoutheart will stand. One thing I will say, some of the names are a bit corny, like Stoutheart and stuff like that. Like I can't think of actual any medieval families that would have like Stoutheart as their surname. But that's just me. This is a fantasy setting, and this is very classical. It's like a fantasy sort of surname. So let's dive straight in. See, as you can see here, I have played through the campaign already up to chapter 3 out of 4, and I have unlocked them. You can go back to them. Now we can start the mission, and we can replay the cutscreen. Let us replay the cutscreen and start off. In the year 593 AA, young Cecilia Stoutheart rose to the Baroness after the untimely death of her father. When ore shipments from the bark spurs rich mines go missing and rumours of bandits are brought to the new ruler, Cecilia leads a small force to investigate the missing resources and restore lawfulness to the barony. I do love the world map here. It is very pretty. So let's play the cutscene. Actually, I just realised why I'm going to skip that cutscene. That cutscene plays. I'd forgotten that cutscene plays at the end of the mission, so that would spoil the story. So probably not a good idea. I'd completely forgotten that. I'd thought it was the introduction cutscene, but hey ho. Cecilia Stoutheart, the new Baroness of the Barony of Stoutheart, was on her way to the quarries of Flint Hills. All shipments of stone from this region have stopped, and she was determined to find out why. She suspected an uprising of bandits and peasants, and had already sent troops to the region to restore order. Here we go. Now, I will say straight off the bat, I like the art style. It's pixel art, but it's pixel art with a lot of detail. And I just like this slightly grimmer, darker tone for the world. Like it's not like Warcraft where it's bright and like colourful. Like the world itself is quite grim, but you have colour on the characters. I mean, for example, there's a site of interaction here that we can go, which is basically a gallows tree. So let's check this out. I have turned on area of movement. You can have it. It's turned off in the base game, but I turn it on just for the ease of seeing where we have to go. But for those of you who like to actually not have a colourful outline, you can turn it off. But let's check out the gallows tree. Death comes to all sooner than others, and we get 250 experience. Okay, one thing I will do, I am going to go into the options. And I am going to turn the ambient music and stuff back up, because it was a little bit quiet. It was quite loud at the tutorial, well, at the front menu on the main page. So I had it turned down, but now we can have a relatively nice volume. Actually, I may turn up even more. There we go. So, yes, we go to, if you press left alt, by the way, you highlight all the interactable locations and items on the map that you can see. So we have Aurelian Milestone. Let's go and check that out. This old milestone shows the way we get +2 movement for this round, which you can see here. Up in the corner here, you can see how much movement you have, which is basically how many squares that you can basically traverse in a single round. So let's continue along the road. There seems to be dead commander, a body of a dead nobleman on the road. Let's check it out. We'll end our round. Dead commander wore Stoutheart colours and distinctive sign of the Corvus reserves. Stolen ore was one thing, but an uprising against Stoutheart troops was more serious. So, on the body, an old artifact is found on the body. It could provide useful in times to come or sold for gold. So, to cut a slice of bread, a strip of meat, or throat of your opponent, which is an item that we can equip to our character. It's not very good. It's only +1 to our offensive rating, which is at our current offensive rating is 5, so it would make it 6. Personally, I'm going to go for a bit of money because we're low on resources. Let's get those resources and let's get back on the road. Okay, a looted cart, some more money, and some wood, which is basically a resource to use for basically settlement management. Now, one thing I will say before we go any further is the resources and money that you have at the top here do not carry over into the next map. So whatever units or whatever monies or resources you have here do not transfer, so you shouldn't worry about hoarding them. You should just basically use them for that map and basically be done with it. Which was a mistake that I made early on, which was that I was like, okay, with the resources I have up here, if I can take that into the next map, which you can't. I'm out of movement points, we need to end the turn. Got another source of power. An event happens. The Corvus reserves. Some wounded soldiers appeared from the forest and snapped to attention. This was Cecilia's Corvus reserve and had clearly seen combat recently. Hail, Baroness. The Corvus reserve await your command. Lieutenant, you've seen some combat. What is the situation and the status of the mines? Our scouts detected hostiles about, my lady. The gold mine to the south has been seized by rebels. We also encountered an unexpectedly well-armed force at Flint Hills to the west. We took heavy casualties and were forced to retreat. How well-armed? These aren't peasants with tools and knives. They have crossbows and swords, and bannerless knights ride with them. This is no peasant uprising. Someone thinks me weak and seeks to take advantage of my father's death to steal more than a few shipments of ore. We must uphold the laws and show them the error of their ways. Gather the troops. We march for Flint Hills. Okay, so here's the troops that you get access to. Now you have a couple of options here. One thing I will warn you about is that if you press the done button, these guys disappear. Like, it's one of the things I would say that if the developers are watching this video, either have like a double click, like a double confirmation button, or do it sort of like when you click on it, it automatically takes troops that are here and automatically folds them in. Otherwise, yeah, you can always press mass move, which does the same thing, which will basically mass move your troops and do that. But personally, having it done automatically would save accidents, which has happened to me in the past while playing this game, especially when you're trying to do things quickly. But here are our troops. One thing you have to remember about this game is that your units generate different types of mana, which you can see here, or what they call essence in this game. And these different essence types generate different spells. Don't generate different spells, but we can be spent on basically casting different spells. So let's do the bonus mission and go down and clear these mines. We can get some money, we can get some units. Personally, I'm going to grab some more range units, because range units are very powerful in this game, and we shall advance. We are out of movement. Let's get a couple more movement this round, and we shall go and fight this unknown threat. Relatively easy. There's some militiamen, but we just about outnumber them, so we should be able to deal with them. Stand down. This mine belongs to the barony of Stoutheart. It belongs to me. We will do no such thing. You would be wise to go back to your castle and prepare for a storm. There's one coming, I gather. The only storm gathering here is me. Prepare yourselves, shouts the commander. And here's the combat map. Now, on the combat map, you can see these blue tiles. These are where we basically deploy. You can drag your units to a new place to redeploy if you wish. You can also do a quick battle, which is auto-resolved. You can withdraw if you're the attacker. You can't withdraw if you're the defender, though, just so be aware. So if you are attacked, you are not able to withdraw, so you're going to have to fight. You can see relatively where the enemy will be deploying, and you get a rough estimation of their threat levels and of their unit size. Okay, here we are on the battle map. Now, one thing you have to remember is that you're fighting basically on a board, this board here, and all combat takes place within it. Now, you basically get a move action and an attack action, relatively speaking. And as you see here, you have the enemy's militia unit has basically their movement is in red and their attack range is in orange. The hatchet, well, the slowly moving orange lines are their ranges. The further you go out from those ranges, the less damage they do. So we're actually in range of, we're going to take a bit of damage from these guys. Unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do because they are last in the turn order, because their initiative is actually fairly low in comparison to the militiamen. But our unit's going to start first, so there's not a lot we can do, and they're actually fairly well entrenched, so let's let's see if we can pull some of their units away. So let's go down here. Yeesh. Okay. So you see here, we took damage to the unit, which has a health bar. When that health bar goes down, you lose basically a man in the unit, which is not great. So let's see if we can wipe out these guys. There we go. And then we are going to cast Defense on him, and we're going to basically rush forward. Yeah, we lost another unit there, which is not great. Let's get a guaranteed kill on that unit, and then we can move them up here. Boost their defense a little bit, so they don't take so much damage, and then we kill them. And when you defeat the last unit on the map, you get a nice slow-mo kill, which is always very pleasant. But here's the victory screen. On the victory screen, you see how many units you've lost, how many men you've lost, I should say, how many men the enemy side has lost, and how many experience you get. And we get to level 2, and this is basically the level up screen for your characters. Each character will level up differently and have different access to different abilities and skills. One thing that's nearly always default is you will get access to your command limit, which is how many units you could have in your army. Then you normally get then a new skill in the middle and an ability to improve existing skills. So let's have a look. We get guard, which basically increases our melee resistance. We get cunning, which lasts only 2 rounds, but we get in those 2 rounds we get a bonus to our offensive ability and our defense, which is nice. Or we can increase the size of how many units we can have in our army. I'm going to take that to start off with, because at the moment we only had 3 and now we're up to 4. So let's right click and collect the mine. Well, reconquer the mine. And with the mine reconquered, as you can see here by hovering over it or by pressing the left mouse button, every turn we get 500 gold from the mine, which is very nice. And gold is important. Gold is used to basically buy units and upgrade buildings. So it's a prime resource. We're out of movement points, so let's end our turn. One thing I should warn you about this game is that it is a hard game. There's no difficulty slider, there's no way of changing the difficulty. So if you get into difficulty, you're just going to have to soldier for it. Let's see here. Let's visit the source of power. Walking this old battlefield inspires cautions. We get a plus to our defense, but we lose offense for 1 battle. And here, Cecilia was no ordinary commander. She was a wielder and could draw upon the essence of her troops to weave mighty spells. Yeah. As he touched the old tribute to orders, she felt essence empower her. Which basically means we get +1 order essence, which is this blue orb here, for 1 battle, which is not so bad. Let's end the round, and we'll go up here. Some more money, or we can grab some units. I'm going to just straight up grab units. The conversion from unit to troop cost is. We can't access it from here. Where is it? There we go. Tutorial and Codex. So if you go to the units, for example, Melissa costs 100 gold to basically recruit, and it was basically we would have got 600 gold or 600 or 700 gold, or we would have got 12 Melissa units. So we would either have gotten half the value of the unit in gold or the unit. Personally, I went with the unit because having more units generates more mana and it's better on the battlefield. Like here, see, it's another 700 gold, or we can get another 12 militia units. I personally think that normally, if you it depends what you need, but normally units are worth more than gold to pick up, unless it's in the early game when you don't have a ton of currency coming in my experience. But let's go and grab the things here. Some more militia, some more footmen, which are very nice. And let's end our turn. Another source of power. Here we go. We had some equipment. Now, here in here, as you can see, is basically where all your items are stored and where all your skills are displayed. You can also disband armies. Down here, you have your troop modifiers. You have then your temporary modifiers and your defensive modifiers. As you can see, we're actually taking a pretty nasty buff. We're taking a pretty nasty debuff to our offensive capacity, which is affecting our troops' range and melee offensiveness, which is not great. But there's a chest over here, so let's run over here and grab that. A nice amount of gold, another source of power. 100 years ago, the Empire of Aurelia spanned the whole world. Statues of the Empress can be still found spread across Aurelion, and many folk speak dreamily of the golden years of Aurelia. So, initiative for troop plus 10 to initiative, plus 1 to troop movement for 1 battle. Very nice. Now, some sites recharge. For example, down here will recharge. Places of most of the time, places of power will be the ones that recharge. Though there are some other locations which spawn resources, which recharge as well. So we've got another encounter here. Seems between 25 to 100 rebels blocking the road. Erected barricade and small force of armed peasants block the road west. You best be gone, young stout heart. Flint Hills are free lands now. Free to be attacked by bandits and pillaged by other baronies who will protect the people. You? Why not? As you can see, we are quite well armed. I can see that, but I caution you to think carefully before your next actions. Put down your weapons, answer my questions, and I will be merciful. Or stand unlawful against me, and my sword will deliver justice. Now, who armed you? One of good intentions. I've seen Stoutheart Mercy when old Lord Haymond was decapitated by your father. Now turn back. It brings me no pleasure to turn my sword upon my subjects, but unlawful acts will not be tolerated. Stoutheart will stand. And here we go into the combat screen. You see here, they've got their units ready to deploy. I'm going to try and seize the high ground if we are able. So let's try and do that. Okay, we have relatively good initiative. They have... Yeah, they're going to be troublesome, to be honest. But let's try and hold high terrain. I am going to push you up to here. We take a minus 50 range penalty to damage. But I really want to try and do as much damage to these guys as we can. We killed 9 of them, so their damage is greatly reduced. And let's finish them off. Momentum. You can just kill an enemy troop. All the troops will get a momentum bonus to their offense and defense for the next few rounds, which is very nice. See here, there you go, momentum bonus. Target enemy troop gets minus 25% damage, which is always very nice. So let's hit him with that because he's reloading. And the person down there needs to come to us. So you're reloading, that's fine. I am going to push you up to damage the enemy unit. Okay, so what's your damage? If you're a militiaman, it's going to be not great. How much defense do we have? Okay. I can't remember the top of my head, but let's... We've got 2 options. We can either try and defend, or we can add 1 to his movement, but I don't think +1 is going to be good enough to get him within range and time. So let's buff his defense and have him rush here. You're going to basically... You didn't kill him outright, but you greatly reduced his damage, and you can finish these guys off. A little bit of damage. We didn't lose any units though, which is nice. and you can move up here into his zone of control and finish him off. You lost one member of the militia, which is fine, which is a good outcome when we're facing about 34 units. End our turn. Some more gold. And they are blocking the road to the east. Now, we haven't got onto the base building yet in this game, which is it's a shame. It comes along a bit later, but it plays out very much like a normal 4X. So what I will show you is I will show you later on in the campaign. So we will load the game, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, here we are much later in the story of Cecilia Stoutheart. I won't spoil it for you, but we are just going to basically blitz. We're going to end her round. We are going to go to the settlement here. You can claim, like, if it's already your settlement, you can just click on it. If it's a settlement of the opponent, you can basically attack it and defeat its defenders, or if it's already been abandoned, you can reoccupy it. As you can see here, we have locations that we can build upon. Now, each level of the settlement will have small, medium, and large build plots. The build plots give you different resources and access to different units. For example, the peasant hut gives you access to the militia, tavern gives you access to minstrels, farms generate money, quarries generate stone, lumber yards generate wood, guard towers add basically a garrison size to your settlement and allow you to basically build up, allowing you to resist attacks. One thing I will say is, through playing this game, I have found that if you are attacked, if your army is attacked while standing next to a settlement, the settlement's units don't come to your defense. So that might be something that the developers want to basically take a look at. It's basically how the different, like, your fellow armies interact with not only themselves and their allies, but with the nearby settlements. Because at the moment, it's really easy just to have an army march up, attack a settlement, and defeat it, even though your army is standing right next to it, because there's no way to draw your army in. For example, if this army was standing here and it got attacked, it would just be between that army and the attacking army. Your allied army can't come into support, in my experience, unless I've missed something out. But here we go. As you can see here, we have a few options. We can basically raise a new general. Currently we can't do that because we've got both generals out in the field. Every time a general dies, it costs more money to bring them back. You also have the ability to station troops here. You also get a garrison of standard troops that you can basically have. Also, ability to upgrade. So if you press the upgrade ability here, which spends money and resources, you can see we have access to a few more plots of land that we can develop. In the medium building slot, we have access to basically barracks, castles, and marketplaces. These allow you to produce higher tier units, and also allow you to basically buy and sell resources, which is a useful commodity in this game. Standard, you can only build one building per round, though with research you can basically unlock more options, but that is a higher level of developments. Unfortunately, some settlements can never develop past a certain tier. So for example, this is a small settlement, it can only ever go up to tier 2, so it will never get to having large development plots of land. So stuff like royal armories and royal academies, which basically produce high level research for your units and for technology, cannot be accessed here. So if we, but most buildings will also have an upgrade version. For example, if you build a barracks, you can upgrade the barracks to produce proper bowmen and armoured footmen, or longbowmen and armoured footmen, I believe they're called. And this game has a lot of potential, and it's a very open world game. As you can see, there's all places, kinds of places that we can go and explore off the map. You see enemies lurking, there's resources to get, there's magical items to unlock. We've got further into the campaign with this character, so you can hear we've managed to acquire a whole slew of different items that we can give to our character to boost her stats. We've unlocked a number of skills, and I like it. I really do like this game. It has a lot of potential, even if it's still in early access. One thing I will say against it, though, this game is hard. Like, I kid you not. The combat is brutal. The AI, like, you also just can't sit around on your laurels and sort of build up a massive army and then go and conquer the map, because you have other hero armies of the opposing factions wandering around, and they hit hard. And when they hit hard, you lose units, and it takes time to build unit numbers back up. This isn't something that you can just go, oh, okay, I've lost a unit, I can just go back to base and get some more. It's no, like, if you don't have soldiers that have been left behind deliberately by not buying them to like build up a stockpile, you have to wait turns and turns and turns for your units to come back. So conserving your manpower while weakening the enemy's manpower is important, because the enemies are the enemies are playing off the same rule book as you, which is that their army has units made up of individuals, and if you kill off those individual units or individuals within the units, they become much weaker. So it's one of those things where it's very tactical how you play this game. As you can see here, here's the research menu. You have the Grand Armory, which unlocks research for units and research for basically the boosts for your units. And then you've got the Royal Academy, which basically is the economic, so like the more the map-based sort of town-based side of things. So you have your economy research, your hero research, and your human research, which basically boosts the size of your units. While here, it does something similar, but uses different resources. But yes, I like it a lot. I do think this game has a lot of potential. As you can see here, what we've got built, like what's like the different settlements and how many slots we have open. I like this game. I think it's a really good game. I like the art style. I like the combat. It is challenging. If one thing I would say about the combat, I would want it to be like, rather than have it basically like a square map, having it say like a hexagon shaped map might have been better, because it would have given you more tactical maneuvering on the battle map. As it stands right now, because you're basically in a rectangle shape map, it means that you're basically at one end of a rectangle and the enemy's at the other end, and you basically charge each other, and it's like a push and pull kind of system where there's not a lot of maneuvering around enemy units. And in my experience, the terrain, the tactical maneuvering around terrain isn't quite as impactful as it could be if they were using, for example, a hexagon-shaped map. But that's just me. I'm Cornish-knight. This has been Songs of Conquest. I thoroughly recommend this game for you guys to check it out. It's well worth your time. I've had a lot of fun. It's one of the few games that I've been given recently where I've played for a good sort of like 4 or 5 hours solid, because I really found it enjoyable. I spent basically, I think I've Saturday or Sunday on my weekend basically playing this pretty much for the whole of the afternoon. It's a very good game, and I shall see you all next time. I've been Cornish-knight. Goodbye.